Martin Truex Jr. wins in his return to a matte black paint scheme, of course throwing it back to himself on Throwback weekend to their Furniture Road days. We can talk about the scheme later, I guess. But anyways, yes, Martin Truex Jr. dominated Darlington today. I mean, he just destroyed the field until the end. Until the end, Kyle Larson did put up a bit of a challenge there at the end, tried to get there, tried to beat him, but could not quite get it done. And it gave Martin Truex Jr. his third win of 2021. He remains the only repeat winner in the Cup Series. Yeah, there's a bunch of one-time winners this year, but Martin Truex Jr. the only one with multiple wins. And this is what, the 11th, 12th race this season. So Martin Truex Jr. and that team, they are putting together one heck of a season. All their wins have come at the 750 horsepower tracks with the low downforce. So they've got it right at this type of racetrack. The win at Phoenix, the win at Martinsville, and now the win at Darlington. All three, not only are there 750 horsepower package tracks, but they are also playoff tracks, with Phoenix being the championship race, Darlington being the playoff opener, I believe, and then Bristol being Martinsville being a cutoff race to get into the championship four. So they're winning at the right tracks, basically, and winning at tracks that, yes, they have won before, but also tracks like Phoenix that they have not won at before. But getting a lot of those playoff points, racking them up, getting as many as they can for the playoffs so they can avoid elimination early. And they got the max amount today, sweeping the stages and winning the race. Led 248 laps, I believe, out of the 293. I mean, Truex he destroyed the field today. Plain and simple. They had it today. I mean, nothing was stopping him except for a dumb caution, maybe. Larson got close there at the end, but he just wasn't good enough. He had to burn up all of his stuff, and Truex was able to run away with the win. But yes, the return to the 750 horsepower package, the high horsepower, low downforce package at Darlington. Remember last year and 2019, we actually ran the low horsepower and high downforce package. The racing was it was decent, it was good, but, you know, it was nothing spectacular, nothing thrilling, nothing out of this world, I guess you could say. Today, I would say it was about the same, nothing thrilling, nothing out of this world, but I would say today was a good race, and it was an extremely fun race to see the drivers driving around. Drivers were driving all over the racetrack. Every time we went to an onboard camera and got to listen to the drivers lift the gas pedal, brake into the corner or whatever, we heard a durr, They were not just flooring it, letting off for a little bit, flooring it again. They could not just simply ease into the gas, ease into the brake. They had to continuously kind of slap the gas pedal a bit, punch it a bit, and then let off, punch it a bit, because Darlington is an extremely difficult track to drive. It's an extremely difficult track to maneuver your way around, whether it's lap traffic, making a pass. It's a narrow racetrack, so it's one of the more difficult tracks that they drive on in NASCAR in terms of the ovals, so it makes it a very fun race to watch in terms of the driving when you get to see them sliding around the track, when you get to see them going around the top, scraping the wall a bit. So today, in my opinion, it was fun to watch that because we haven't gotten to see that in a couple of years. You know, with this 550 package that we see at 1.5 miles and other intermediate tracks, we really don't get to see that anymore at some of these higher speed tracks. Where you used to be able to do crazy things. I guess crazy is not the right word, but where you used to be able to go run off the wall not full throttle, but, you know, let off really early and then get back into it, maybe let off a little bit in the middle of the corner if you get close to the wall. But, you know, we used to get to see drivers drive the race cars, you know, as they wanted to. They weren't just flooring it the whole time. We actually got to see them set up passes that weren't based off aerodynamics and stuff, and they weren't getting blocked by that. So I think that was really fun to watch. Yeah, sure, Truex dominating the race, leading whatever percent of that, 90+% of that race, whatever that was, you know. No, it's not the most entertaining thing, but every other position, I think, had a fun battle at some point of the day. We got to see Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano have a really fun battle for second or third early in the race. They even showed a battle early on in the race between Michael McDowell and Chris Buescher that I really enjoyed watching. So, no, the race for up front, for the lead, it wasn't that fun because Truex just absolutely destroyed everyone. Larson trying to make it interesting at the end by trying to catch up to Truex, that was fun, but sure, that wasn't fun, but every other position in the field when they were showing something. It was fun to watch. It was fun to go on the onboard cameras, listen to the drivers drive, and yeah, that was fun in my opinion. We'll rate this race later, but let's get to the finishing results. Martin Truex Jr. picks up his third win of 2021. As I said earlier, playoff points. You want them for the playoffs. You want to get through these rounds as easy as possible. Getting playoff points is the way to do that, and Martin Truex Jr. has been the best driver. They have been the best team at doing that. With the most wins, you get 5 points, of course, for a win, and the 5 playoff points with a win. So they've got 3 wins, 15 of those, and they also swept the stages today, so they made a maximum points day today. They took full advantage of it, and they dominated. They did everything right today. I mean, seriously, they just dominated. Second place, Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson, he tried to make it a little bit interesting. I think with about 30 to go, Larson was able to cut the lead within a second. Truex had been leading by 5+ seconds and maybe even 15+ seconds at times. But Larson, after that last pit cycle, was able to close the gap on Truex. He was able to get to the back bumper. In fact, on the radio, Martin Truex, his spotter, his crew chief, someone said, "Hey, look, that car behind you is the 5 car. That is for the win. Be careful. Don't do anything stupid." And Truex got on the radio and said, "What? The car right in my mirror? That's for position? I thought he was a lap car," because Truex had been that dominant all day. He was like, "Oh my gosh, someone's actually challenging me for this win. I can't believe it." So, yeah, Larson tried really hard to make this interesting at the end, really tried to give Truex a run for his money, I guess, but was not able to get it done. A second-place finish at Darlington. Larson has been so close so many times at Darlington, was not able to get it done today. Third place, Kyle Busch spun from the lead early in this race, had a tire go down when leading at about lap 20, spun out, was able to get it back going, repaired some damages, rallies back for a third place finish today, follows up the Kansas win with a top 5, led a few laps early on, so a good run from that 18 team. Fourth place, William Byron. William Byron's top 10 streak stays alive, gets himself a top 5 at Darlington. Man, they've been the most consistent team this year, it feels like. 10 straight top 10 finishes. The first time since 2007, I believe, with Jeff Gordon. I think I saw that somewhere. But, man, that's insane. 10 top 10s in a row. You've got to have some mad luck on your side and also some mad skills in every department in order for that to happen. I mean, we've gone to so many different racetracks in that span. We've gone to a super speedway at Talladega. I mean, that's the luck portion of it, but everything else. Darlington. Last week we were at, Kansas. You know, that's a 1.5 miles. Then we've seen some short tracks. So William Byron has been extremely consistent this year. They have really just improved so much as a team. Hendrick Motorsports obviously overall, but the 24 team specifically, adding Rudy Fugle as that crew chief has helped them out tremendously, and it is showing. They have been the most consistent team in Cup. Fifth place, Denny Hamlin. Another top 5 for Denny Hamlin. Is he going to win this year? Yes. When is it going to happen? Man, I don't know. But they have been kicking everyone's butt, speaking of consistent teams. Sixth place, Kevin Harvick. A good run for him. He actually took the lead early on in this race. Was able to lead a few laps early on, but fell off, but was able to rally back for a 6th place finish. Stewart-Haas. Oh, outside of Harvick today and even Briscoe. 2 crashes. Ugh, man. But Briscoe did have a good day. We will talk about him in a minute. 7th place, Chase Elliott. 8th place, Ryan Blaney was in the top 5 for a bit, but scraped the wall, fell back a bit, but finishes 8th. 9th, Chris Buescher. 10th, Ryan Newman. A really good day for Roush Fenway Racing. That's great for them. Good finish for those guys. 11th, Chase Briscoe. We've talked about the struggles of Stewart-Haas Racing outside of Kevin Harvick. Almirola's like 28th in points. Briscoe's like 25th in points, and Custer is like 23rd in points. And then there's Harvick, who's like 6th in points. But Stewart-Haas Racing outside of Harvick this year has been awful. So Briscoe, they decided to make a little bit of a risky move. Decided to stay out during one of the cautions on older tires. And, of course, tires wear so much at Darlington. But it ended up working out for them. They were 7th coming into the next pit cycle after, like, being out for a whole cycle on green flag laps, the green flag tires, whatever you want to call them. And they were able to stay in the top 10 for the most part. They fell out of the top 10, didn't get any stage points, but they were able to keep their track position for the rest of the race, and they end up with an 11th place finish, tying Chase Briscoe's career high finish. So a really, really good day for them considering how the start to this season has been. Not a top 10, obviously. I think that's what they want to get. That's what they want to go for right now because they've been so off. I think that would be a really good run for them. But an 11th place finish right now, that deserves some applause for how bad this team outside of the Stewart-Haas stable, outside of Harvick, has been this year. That deserves a round of applause. So good job, Chase Briscoe. Good job to that 14 team. 12th, Tyler Reddick. He was a top 5 car early in this race, but as the day went on, just, lost some. They scraped the wall at one point, lost some track position somehow. I don't know if they had a speeding penalty or what, but they end up 12th. 13th, Joey Logano. Joey Logano had a penalty, I believe, a speeding penalty in that last green flag pit stop cycle and had to go down pit road for a pass through. He was running top 5 most of the day, but ends up finishing 13th due to a penalty. 14th, Christopher Bell. He was in the top 10, even up in the top 5 for a bit. I think he scraped the wall late in this race, had a tire going down. He ends up finishing, whatever I said, 14th. 15th, Ross Chastain. Oh, boy. Brad Keselowski tried this strategy at Richmond. It failed miserably, and Ross Chastain decided to do the same thing. Obviously, they didn't do it, but the crew chiefs did it. They stayed out as long as possible. They stayed out on their old tires and decided to wait out until the stage end and got lapped. That's what Ross Chastain did today. That's what Brad Keselowski did a couple weeks ago at Richmond. It's not a winning strategy. It's not a stage winning strategy. It's not a stage point strategy. Like, you're literally fighting to stay on the lead lap. Chastain got lapped with about 3 to go, but then he ends up losing the free pass to, I think, Bubba Wallace, and then by that point, Truex had already lapped another 3 cars, so that strategy's not going to work, guys. At tracks that tires wear so much and are so important, that strategy's not going to work. Maybe you could pull it off at a track that has no tire wear. You can't pull that off at Darlington or Richmond, so I don't even know why they tried that, but you be you, I guess. 16th, Austin Dillon. 17th, Alex Bowman. 18th, Eric Jones. 19th, Matt DiBenedetto. I don't know what happened to DiBenedetto. Was up in the top 10 for a good chunk of the first half of the race, but fell off. 20th, Stenhouse. 21st, Bubba. 22nd, LaJoy. 23rd, Suarez. 24th, Brad Keselowski was awful today. 25th, Ryan Preece. 26th, Alfredo. 27th, McDowell. 28th, Justin Haley. 29th, J.J. Yaley. 30th, Quinn Houff. 31st, James Davison. 32nd, B.J. McLeod. 33rd, Josh Bilicki. 34th, Cody Ware. 35th, Kurt Busch crashed off of turn number 4. 36th, Cole Custer crashed off turn number 2. 37th, Eric Almirola crashed on lap 5 off of turn number 2 as well. Man, some of those wrecks reminded me of the Jimmy Johnson when he was leading at the end of the stage last year at Darlington and he wrecked himself. Those wrecks reminded me of that, but as I said, so fun to see some of these drivers actually driving the cars, like putting a ton of effort into driving the cars. I don't know how else to say it. Really fun to watch that. Obviously, Truex dominating, that gets boring after a while. Even if you're a Truex fan, I feel like that's got to get boring after a while, but overall, it was, I think, just watching these race car drivers drive the race cars extremely hard. They pushing the car as hard as they could. It was so fun to watch. See them slipping and sliding up the racetrack and stuff, making actual difficult passes, slide jobs, all that stuff. But not the best Darlington race ever. But it wasn't like a forgettable race that was awful. But I'd say it was an average race. I'd say so. We'll give it a 7.8 out of 10. I guess that's what I'll give it on a rating scale. Good, solid race in my opinion. Not a bad one, but at the same time, not a great one, but a good, solid race. I enjoyed it. That was a good use of my 3.5 hours today, but hope you guys all had a great Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to my mother. You are the best mom out there. But yes, go now, be with your families, be with your mothers, wish them a happy Mother's Day, make them extremely happy. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend.